Okay, welcome back to my next, stage makeup video for class. This week's assignment is street urchin look. And for the character, I'm pulling I'm using Vin, from the book Mistborn: The Final Empire. Sadly no stage adaptation yet, but, this is where I'd kind of go for, like, the early scenes for the character, if there was. So, a little bit about her. Vin, has been living on the streets of Luthadel, the capital city, for a long time, basically her whole life. For most of her life, she was, taken care of by her older brother, Reed, who, a few months before the story starts, abandoned her, or seemingly abandoned her, after threatening to for years, so that she would learn not to trust anyone. She and her brother, made, their way, or, stay alive by joining and working for various thieving crews in Luthadel, and that is what she's still doing at the start of the story. She's on the same thieving crew that she was on when her brother left, and the, leader of the thieving crew, Kemon, keeps her around mainly because he views her as a good luck charm. He's not fully aware of the reason why things seem to go better, when she's there, when she's involved, but he just knows that they do. Vin is also only slightly more aware of the reasons behind it, but she's not going to tell Kemon any more, than she has to, because that would, put her in danger. Potentially. She's not sure. When the story starts, she and Kemon, as well as a couple of the others, just got back from a meeting with a nobleman that they intend to try and scam. And she ends up making up her mind to, try and leave the thieving crew. She told the one person in the crew who was anything close to a friend and asked if he would go with her, but he, ratted her out to Kemon, who then began to beat her and nearly beat her to death. That's when one of our other major protagonists steps in, stops him, and takes Vin as an apprentice. I don't think I'll go much more into detail, due to, well, I don't know, but I also don't know what else to talk about. So when the story starts and what I'm kind of looking at theoretically for when this specific makeup look would be, is right near the start, while she's waiting in Kelsier's hideout, for a meeting that he's called, to discuss the next job he wants to do, which he wants Vin to be involved with. So we've got, in the final look, in addition to the basics of the street urchin making face look thinner and more sunken in, we also have, ash smudges, ash or soot smudges on their face, as, in this world, ash falls from the sky frequently, due to a long ago disaster. It's rather complicated and lore heavy. But, so we got ash smudges, and then, I also tried to include some bruising from, shortly before when I'm the scene I'm thinking of, from when Kemen was beating her, that I just explained. Anyway, she's a very interesting character, that I felt fit the assignment decently, and if a Mistborn stage play were ever to be made, I think it would be really cool. I've still got 5 minutes of video left, so we'll try and talk about the stuff. As I was working, I ran into the issue still of not mixing enough foundation into my shadow color. It was still very dark and took a long time to blend. So I need to revise that a bit, as well as later on when we get to attempting to add the bruising. I also ended up with, when I tried to do the ash smudges, ended up a lot more, more overwhelming or overpowering of the look than I really intended, so I intend to tone those back in the final version. I'm also still fighting with the lack of hairband, since I haven't had a chance to get to Meyer somewhere, and a couple, similar annoyances or, things making it a little more difficult than it strictly needs to be. But, overall, I think I managed okay. It very much felt like early on, the shadows were way too dark, but then by the end, they were not visible enough, which was an interesting struggle to fight with, so I don't know. I'll see if I can balance that better in the final version. Also, in the process of this one, I ran into the issue of forgetting to plan some of the things ahead enough. While I already had my highlight and shadow mixed, so I didn't need to do that in the video, you'll notice that I did need to mix my ash smudges and specific bruise colors, which also did not turn out quite how I intended. I'll be running some tests post-video editing to try and get a better setup for that for tomorrow. For the most part, I do feel it turned out. Like I said, the biggest issue being the ash or soot smudges ending up being way more overpowering than intended. But that's a reasonable enough fix to just, bring them back a bit. So, I don't know if that's the phrasing I want, but yes. Overall, this was a fun project, and I got to talk about a character I like. Yay. I do think, while obviously adapting a trilogy of books into a single stage play is not always feasible, or good, I guess, would be the best word. It is difficult to condense that much story into the time for a stage play. I do think a stage adaptation of the first Mistborn book would work decently well. It ties it all up. It ties its story up very nicely. It is decently self-contained. So yeah. We'll see how the next assignment goes. And I hope the final version of this turns out better, than the video, and yeah. Alright, bye!